Matthew Mercer is the dungeon master of the hugely successful show Critical Role. For those of you who don't know what Critical Role is...
Of Critical Role, where a bunch of us nerdy-ass voice actors sit around and play Dungeons & Dragons.
Critical Role is the most successful Dungeons & Dragons show and brand, thanks in no small part to Matthew Mercer's unique storytelling abilities. Today we are going to break down 3 unique storytelling techniques so you can master storytelling like Matthew Mercer. Dungeons & Dragons is a collective storytelling exercise, and while most games use figurines, maps, tokens to show the positioning of key elements, the main component to Dungeons & Dragons is imagination. Matthew Mercer has a unique ability to create a level of immersion in his stories where all 6 of his players are fully engrossed. The first way he achieves this mastery of storytelling is engaging his audience in all 5 senses.
Stand within this incredibly tall room. You actually cannot see the ceiling from where you stand. Instead, you're in the center of a lush jungle with thick, vine-covered tropical trees stretching up multiple stories towards a sourceless, unchanging sunset. Soft orange and red glow peering through a somewhat muggy, humid sky above. You can see past the trees to the front and left of where you landed what looks to be a massive mountainside cliff of rock that kind of rises up past visual sight, and you can hear the faint sound of rushing water, like a waterfall.
When you are sharing a story, describe what is happening, paint the picture of what they see and feel, what they hear, smell, taste. This will allow your listeners to transport themselves into the story and will be fully engaged. Now, this doesn't mean you have to go into great detail about every little thing. Technique number 2 is to adjust the pacing of the story to match the emotions you're trying to convey. For instance, in combat, Matthew Mercer will generally describe the attacks of each player.
And as you club across the front, one of the heads kind of snaps, the neck breaking. Tendrils begin to wrap around, flip, and then land right in front of its face is where you're doing the impact. The sphere.
As the tension's heating up, as the combatants are fighting back and forth, as your story builds to its inevitable conclusion, match the feelings that your audience is experiencing, but then take a beat and a breath.
And stop speeding.
Allow the space so your audience can sink into the resolution.
Well, with that, I think I'm going to look behind this waterfall.
The final technique is knowing who the protagonist of the story is and having empathy for the emotional reactions that they are having. For example, in this next clip, the group enters a room with a giant beating heart, and Matthew Mercer sets the mood by creating a sound of this beating heart to reverberate around them.
It's really hard to think.
I hate it.
I love it.
Anxiety.
This deep, visceral sound was designed to put the players on edge, but when the sound became too much...
Oh no, that makes me feel really uncomfortable. It really is making me feel like I've got to poop.
17 to hit? You want me to turn it off?
Matthew drops all pretenses of storytelling to check in and make sure his audience are okay, which is all Laura Bailey needed to re-engage with the story.
You got to leave it.
No, you gotta leave it on.
It's supposed to make us uncomfortable.
This led to a climactic and fun story for everyone. As a quick recap, to master storytelling like Matthew Mercer: 1. Engage the senses, all of the senses. 2. Match the pacing to the emotion. And 3. Have empathy for your audience. Your audience is the hero of your story. My name's Austin Giuliano. I want to thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and...
How do you want to do that?